Community. Jenny Lyon here. Sorry, we're a little bit late, sort of 5 minutes. I'm just going to wait for this whole thing to start streaming. It's always like this when we stream through Zoom. It takes a little time to go into Facebook. I think we're doing it now. Let's just check that out. I'm here with my dear, dear friend and dear companion of learning as well. We are live. So let me tag some people as well, actually, Sebastian. I'm just going to find a place to tag if I can. It doesn't always happen. I think I might just not do that. No, here we are. Okay. There. Right, yeah, let's tag a couple of people. I don't think I can. Nah. Okay. Right, welcome, Sebastian. And thank you so much for coming here into my group. As you know, I'm Jenny Lyon. I'm the founder of this group, and I'm very proud to have, I call him my soul brother, because we were together on the training of the Lightbody over 2 years. And I think this is the most intensive training that I have actually been on. It's obviously accumulative because it's like another layer, you go deeper. So welcome, Sebastian, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to have you here. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about well, I've been talking about decoding the genius, but let's talk a little bit about the work that you have been doing for some time now, working with male entrepreneurs and giving them results in their business by, you know, working with their energy, basically, in simple terms, right? So tell me just first of all, how did you get into that? Because you haven't always done energy work. You didn't start out like that.
Right. So yeah, I'll just give the abbreviated version. Energy work, this whole type of spiritual conversation or any energetic conversation was not on my radar. You know, I thought it was interesting, but I was like, all right, first things first, let's get rich in business. And that's how it was when I was, you know, as a young entrepreneur, 19, 20, 21, that's all I was focused on. And I wanted to get money and I wanted to get, status, quite frankly. And so I started putting my mind to the test, started focusing, and my web design company grew and grew and grew and grew. And so did our team. And to 25 full-time team members, I think we like 9x our revenue in 6 months. And so things were growing. And that's when our mutual mentor, Nicholas, was introduced to me by another mentor and shared with me the map of my subconscious mind and said, hey, here's these, you know, patterns that, you know, everybody has, but if you don't work on them, then they can bring everything down that you built. And I was like, that sounds interesting, but I'm going to focus on these money targets and just keep moving forward.
Thanks for that, but I'm doing this.
Exactly. Yeah. So very much in my mind, very much, you know, non-spirit conversation at all. Well, what ended up happening is I didn't know how to follow my intuition. So I ended up working with people that, you know, I knew there was kind of a bad feeling about, or I didn't have the tough conversations. Basically my blind spots, basically my limiting beliefs came up and just reared. And it ended up deconstructing, destroying everything I had built. So when that had happened and everything was stripped away, had to lay off everybody, everything I'd built, everything I dedicated 100-hour plus work weeks to was gone. That's when I was at my lowest point. And that's when I was actually in the field position. I was just thinking of ways to just end it and just leave this place. And that's when something clicked. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but I just knew the energy clicked inside of me. And I realized all achievement is great. All that other stuff is great. It's important. But if I'm not doing my life's greatest work, then nothing else matters. No amount of money, no amount of status, no amount of achievement, nothing else matters if I'm not doing the thing that I was born to do. And when that switched inside of me, I didn't know what that thing was that I was born to do, but I knew that the energy was different. So I started following that energy, and I felt that same type of energy in working with our mutual mentor, Nicholas. So I came back to the map. I came back to this tool to show me my limiting patterns. And I went back to it with humbled eyes, humbled energy, and started learning more about myself. And I didn't have the words for it at the time, but now I call it the process of decoding your genius. And as I did that, I had the Lotus Lightbody activations, which we trained in together, and now you share with your clients, so do I. And as I started doing that, I started going more on the path of my life's greatest work. I started an SEO company that quickly grew to multiple 6 figures and gave me tremendous freedom. I built it around so it only took me about 4 hours a week on average to maintain it. And that's what gave me the freedom to go deeper into this work that we've trained together with the emotional clearing, the Lotus Lightbody activations. And that took us to our time where we started training together after having been trained, with Nicholas for, I don't even know how many years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. So at the moment, so I'm really curious because we have spoken about this before, but I don't know exactly, the processes and the methods and the terminology and the way you do this. But basically, you're working with male entrepreneurs to help them come into their life's greatest work, right? By decoding their genius. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all for women, men, whatever it might be. There was a chapter of my life. It was around the time we started training in the Lightbody surgeon training, and this is what I realized: when people's life's greatest work happens, it can unfold in different chapters. And there was a chapter for about 2 years where I was really focused on creating a tight-knit brotherhood of embodying the king energy, because in the world, we can see so many examples where people have very real power, very real influence, and zero integrity. And it's hurting the world. And I really believe that it's time that people with integrity have real power to turn the scales. And so for a very focused 2-year period, I ran initiations for men specifically. And that was built to take men through a process, take them through the 6 archetypes, and initiate to the different energy of being in the king energy. And that's what created the Royal Brotherhood Cooperative, which still runs to this day and will continue to run. I no longer do those initiations because that served to create our mastermind, and now we have it. But that period of taking people through, I think, as we talked about, will probably be a really great fit for your audience here.
Yeah, exactly. Because what interests me really so much is that, because the way I'm talking to my clients and to people also in this group and to people online is about females really harnessing and embodying both the feminine and the masculine within them.
Yes.
And this is so once you're clearing a lot of the internal barriers and decoding the map, or where you're actually supposed to be going, and really deeply connected with that, that's when, as for a female, again, integrity, all those words, of high of high authority, as in power, really, embodying the queen within them. Because the queen she's wise, but she's also intuitive. She's sensitive. She follows, the flow. She's
Mm-hmm.
also she has no fear. She will go for what is the right thing. I mean, I'm talking about good queens here.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. Like, so exactly. So that's why I'm so excited about having this conversation, because that is the highly intuitive woman, or the highly intuitive entrepreneur. Because yes, we all want success, and yes, we want to go after the money as well and the wealth, because it's like we want relaxed life. We don't want to feel stressed and under, paid and overworked. And all those other things. We want to do our greatest work and want to follow our intuition and want to be aligned with our, you know, deepest purpose, and have a great lifestyle and a great life serving people, because this, you know, you're serving. Again, the queen will serve, right?
Right.
So it's the same with the king. The king serves. So yeah, so I just want to go deeper into this. So you are talking about the archetypes.
Yes.
So if you can just explain a little bit more, because obviously the king is one of the male archetypes.
Right. So if it's all right with you, I could pop up the whiteboard app.
Yes, I think you can even share the screen.
Perfect. Okay. All right.
Click original size, something.
Okay, so say we have, and you can see like this, right?
Yeah, we can see.
So say we have the queen, that's right there.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we've talked about, there's a lot of talk these days about the queen king energy. And the reality is it's an amazing place to be, and it's a tough place to be because it's a lot of responsibility. Mm-hmm. And we need to be able to take steps to get there. So say this is a person, and these are the archetypes that I use, or we use in the brotherhood that I founded. So they're really like stepping stones, and they can really happen kind of in any order, but usually with entrepreneurs, they happen close to this order, which is the first one is the warrior. So there's 6 of these, but usually the warrior archetype, it's the grind mode. It's the hustle. It's the just do it. It's the discipline. It's the just fighting. Okay. Which these things can be helpful and it's necessary, but of course, taken too far, people get burned out. People are always subconsciously creating drama to fight against. It's a tough place to be. And so each of these archetypes have a light side, which is like the actualized side. And they also have like a shadow side, which is at its worst. So usually with entrepreneurs, you know, that's what we grow up with. Got Gary Vee, got all these people saying, hustle, grind, don't sleep, just go, go, go. It's all shadow.
I still see some words like that on social media, and I'm like, no.
It's surprising. It's like people are wising up to it, but it's still, you know, there's still an audience for it. So, you know, and that's where I was in my story, web design business, working 100-hour plus work weeks. I didn't know what else to do other than work harder, you know? So.
And that's also in our jeans.
Yes.
Not in our trousers. in our DNA, because it also depends on where we come from, right?
Exactly.
This is
And that's something that I inherited was this idea that working hard is, I mean, struggling, really working constantly is actually the way to go, you know, and if you weren't doing that, then it was bad. So really the way out of that is to start bringing in more, for the men, I say wizard energy. For the women, what do you think? Is that more like an oracle or what is that? Sage. Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's do sage energy. And the sage, if you think about it like in stories, the sage is like, you know, the warrior is like first into battle. Like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to lead the charge. The sage has got a bit more patience. The sage is like, okay, I can do it now, but is tomorrow better? Or is it an hour? They're taking into account like the seasons. They're taking into account the rhythms of life. And this is why this whole journey is so important to build. Each step builds on each other, because if you don't have the warrior discipline, then it's easy to go into the shadow sage, which is just procrastination and just making up excuses not to do the things that need to be done.
Yeah, and I would call that being too much in the feminine, just floaty and just kind of just, oh yeah, it'll be all right. If it works out, it'll be fine. It's like too just wishy-washy.
Right.
I mean, it's okay to flow, but it's like, no, what's your intentions? You know, you're in charge here, you know? So as in decide, you need to decide what it is you want.
Exactly. And it's like, oftentimes the men and women that come to me are in that place. They're in warrior mode. And because that's like the way that they needed to get where they got to, and it worked to get where they got to, but it's not going to take them the next step. So the wizard is about mastering kind of unseen things. Like if you think about the warrior is like, I got my sword, got my shield. I mean, that's purely practical. The sage is kind of like different knowledge, which is so perfect with what you share people. It's like these esoteric knowledges that really work, that can really smooth things along. And it's just like the sage is like feeling the wind. It's like you don't see the wind, you see the effects of the wind, but you definitely feel it. So it's like feeling these rhythms and these winds of life and then flowing with them. But you got to flow with it. You can't just stay put.
No, exactly. You know, it's the cycles also of the moon, you know, especially for women. Not saying that men can't tune into that. Of course they can. But it's really, really powerful. You know, you can harness the energy of the moon quite easily and make more things work for you if you harness this way. I mean, this is what I talk to my clients about, you know, it's not just the moon, but, you know, Cool.
Yes. And that's really amazing is like, you know, the women in this group, high achieving women, it's like by default, probably already have that warrior energy developed. So that's why it's perfect for this sage energy that you're sharing with them to come in and just really be like rocket fuel.
Yeah.
So then the next one we'll go to is the lover. So it's like we're really upgrading the power here. I mean, it's like the warrior has the discipline, the tenacity, the ability to go forward. The sage has got the rhythms of life, opening up more and more power here. So the lover goes into opening the heart. So making sure that, because the shadow sage also is manipulative. It's using these unseen forces to manipulate, almost like pull the strings.
The outcome, try to manipulate the outcome.
So the lover helps connect into the heart and make sure we're doing these things for the right reasons, the right integrity. And and also, we'll say that one. Then we'll go to the wild woman.
So this wild woman and a wild man.
Yes.
You know, you're doing the wild woman now, yeah?
Yes, exactly. So it's similar to the lover, and it's similar to the next one, but it really has its own energy. And it's being connected with freedom within oneself, because it's like throughout life, we have so many different constraints, so many different things, and a lot of them are good. But if we never get in touch with that just primal freedom and express it, then in a sense, we're caging in a part of ourselves all the time. And that's where people can, you know, maybe they've got the discipline, maybe they've got the knowledge, like kind of the secret knowledge, and maybe they're feeling they're doing it for the right reasons. But you can kind of see if the wild woman isn't connected there, there's a repressed energy. There's a very, as opposed to being a free energy. And now, of course, with the shadow of this, the shadow of the wild woman is either being too repressed, or it's like total anarchy of like no structure.
Almost too feminists, maybe even. Like not respecting the balance of the masculine and the feminine. Is it too maybe the wild woman too much, or completely rebellious? Just so.
Yeah, how about I'll share what I tell the men, and then I think probably your translation of that will be what they need. With the men, the example of like the anarchist, where it's like all rules are bad, just total freedom.
Yeah.
It's like we do need rules, you know, we do need certain rules.
Need some structure. No.
Yeah, exactly.
No structure.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that doesn't work.
We need some, right? And there's different ways for the wild woman energy to come through. You know, so for some people, it's getting out in nature. I mean, that's obvious. It's an obvious one, and being really in touch with the land. Some people, it's going to a music festival and just dancing and just kind of like letting go of that, all those, you know, maybe self or other people judgments.
I feel like it's really connected to like the second chakra, which has to do with like creativity, pleasure, enjoying life, opening your energy to what life really is, you know, as a day to day, you know, enjoying it. It's very like second chakra, dance, lots of movement.
Yeah, lots of movement,
Feel that.
growling, kind of connected to the animal nature, and yeah, creates a freedom. Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, we see wild person energy with artists, and it's part of the attraction appeal with artists, whether it's a woman or a man, is kind of like this kind of there's certain freedom to not have to dress the way that everybody does, just kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one, and by the way, four of these are from a book that's really focused like on the male version of the archetypes. But then I discovered there's like two of them missing. And so the wild woman is one of them I felt was missing. And then the playful princess is another one. And it's similar to the lover, but it is definitely different. So the playful princess is exactly what it says. It's like being playful, being fun, enjoying life, the lightness, the comedy of life. And it's like, you think about the playful princess, it's like being able to enjoy the queendom, but not having all the responsibility.
Yeah.
Queen,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's like just great. All the princesses that are born into royalty, and they are not the next in line.
Yeah.
It's almost like they have a little bit of responsibility, but actually they can go party.
Right. Exactly.
You've seen it in real life. In real royal families.
Yeah.
That she does this.
Still part of the circle, do a few things here and there, but
a little bit of responsibility, can't go completely out of, shape.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And and like the shadow of this is just playing too much, just playing around everything, just
caught drinking too many cocktails.
Exactly. Not doing any responsibility.
Yeah.
But especially for those in the who grew up in the warrior the warrior archetype, it's so important for us, and it's one of the like shortcuts to really cultivate the playful princess, playful prince, because especially with the David Hawkins scale of consciousness, which we of course know is measured emotions on a scale. And the higher the emotions, the more flow a person has access to, the greater ideas a person has access to, ultimately the more power a person has access to.
Yeah.
And the highest emotions on there are peace, love, and joy. And it's like, those are the emotions of the playful princess. Peace, everything's covered. They got dad and mom running the show. They got finances taken care of. They got people looking out for them. Joy, just to get to play around.
Yeah.
And love of life.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I share with people. It's like we could, spend, 40 years meditating on a mountaintop to try and raise our frequency. Or perhaps one of the other ways is to just every day
have fun.
Have fun. Exactly.
Well, basically, the universe works quicker in manifestation while you're having fun.
Right. Exactly.
And it really works like that. I tell you the times when I turn this is just personal experience, and I hear from lots of other entrepreneurs, when they turn their phones off, they go out, have a blast, they don't worry about their business at all. The next day it's like booked calls, somebody's emailed them about something, there's a new, somebody booked a program or whatever. Like it really is like this. So you've got to relax, you've got to chill out.
So true. And it's one of those things that, especially for persons in warrior mode, like I was, and I still watch it even to this day, I watch my mental patterns, is like, it's almost kind of like gripping the steering wheel, So it can be really hard to let go. It takes a little bit of trust. I know when I started with this, I scheduled it in my calendar. Because otherwise, it would be, next on the list, never happened. But yeah, just like you've shared, incredible things have happened, and it actually just makes sense, because when we're in a light state, like if you go to a party and someone's rigid and just really, it's not really magnetic, but there's a magnetism in this light kind of jumping, and that our business is a reflection of our inner state, so we're vibrating that out.
Yeah,
sure, cool things happen.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I schedule in I know it sounds a bit kind of strange, but I make sure I schedule the fun things in every week, as well as I schedule everything else with my business.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, I go into the warrior woman.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know I don't do that, so I can't. I need to make sure I have the fun things. And I stop, like, right, that's it, I'm stopped now. Have to have discipline.
Right. And that leads to the next point, because that's an important, very important part of the queen energy, is then the queen energy knows all these different influences. And really the queen energy is knowing how and when to use them.
Yes.
And it's like, you know, especially if there's a lot of things hitting the fan, it's like that the queen knows that, hey, I need to get this relax, this recharge time even more, because otherwise, also, you know, I'm pretty much an analytical person, so I also look at it as like percentages, you know. So it's like, just like we we charge our phone, it's like every time we charge with that play energy, you know, we get to 100%. So yes, you know, you can be at it maxed out and be doing more than you need, but you get to 100%. And then as you're going through, you're actually kind of depleting it. So if you got even more things, you know, more people storming the gates of your queendom, it's like even more important to make sure that ask yourself, what level am I? Am I at like 40% right now? Would it actually be better just to get another hour of sleep than try and like grind out and be at 30%? Or should I take an hour of sleep, get back to 80% and actually produce more in the same amount of time, twice as more, same amount of time?
And I think also what I've noticed, because I do believe that I'm going further and further into my own inner queen, because I've been doing this work for so long. Yeah. I don't think we're never finished, but no. You know, we're embodying all the time. Yeah. But no, what I was going to say there was that the list of prioritizing, I think, is the queen task, because the queen will have a million tasks, but she will delegate.
Yes.
And she will prioritize.
Yes.
And then, you know, you're not grinding yourself to the ground. You have the extra sleep, you have the extra play, and then you go super focused on like 1, 2, 3 things. Bang, get them done. And that is, to me, like a queen energy. I don't know how you translate that, but
absolutely. And it's definitely a skill that takes, because it's complete opposite of the warrior woman.
Yes.
Or warrior man. And with the queen, like as you shared, it's all about the quality of one's mental faculties to then make decisions, because it takes time to build the team, build the systems around you as the queen. And then it really becomes, okay, well, if my whole role is making decisions and not really doing, so to speak, but delegating, then really it becomes down to what's my mental state of mind. And the higher I keep that, the better decisions I make, the better the queendom runs. And that's why it's one of the things that from the outside looking in, it could be like, oh, well, the queen isn't really doing anything. It's just that they're doing the most highest leverage, most difficult aspect.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's honed in, you know, yes. And it's prioritized.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is what I'm so passionate about, just, you know, basically erasing stuff on your list that is not priority. Well, put it on some sort of like collective list that will get done one day, that you'll just take out the prioritizing, because really, otherwise you will burn out, because I've been a victim of this myself, where I had long lists of things, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I'm talking about lists, but I think it's something in a business, or running your own business, you've got to be focused on specific tasks. And yeah, so yeah, it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, a real practical tool just for myself is, you know, I have an online thing, and I just, every time there's a to-do list, I add to it, but it's just an ongoing list, you know, so I can just have it out of my mind. Mm-hmm. And then each day I have the income producing activities at the top. So it's like doing first things first, probably not the things you want to do, but as long as you get them done first, then who knows? Because life happens, you know, depending on if you have a family or other different things happen. And if at least in the morning, you got the things that actually needed to be done to move your business forward with an income producing activity, then you're set for the day. Anything else?
And that's exactly what I do as well. I mean, that's what when I speak to my clients, and when I advise them on, you know, I'm not a business coach as such, but you know, when I'm talking about, because it's totally income, you have to be income focused. And if exactly what you said, if you're doing tasks consistently every day to create income, whatever they are, even if they're building, you'll get the momentum, and it will happen. So that's it. And then the rest of the day, if you want to, you know, I would advise this for those who's watching as well. It's like, check in, you know, if let's say you've had a piece of work that you've finished, just check in. What do you need? Do you need to go for a walk?
Yes.
Do you need to meditate for 10 minutes? Do you need fresh air? I mean, water, of course, you have that with you all the time.
Yeah.
Do you need to leave the building? I mean, what do you need? So I think this is really important as well, because again, then you honed in, you're focused on specific tasks, but you consciously tuning in at what you need in the next, and that can happen, I don't know, every 2 hours or something would probably be a good interval. But
it's absolutely money advice. Absolutely, because it's what the way I describe it is flow state management. You know, like everybody knows that, you know, the instance of an athlete, no matter what sport it is, where they're in the zone, and everyone probably has felt it themselves in a certain way, where you're in the zone, you're just not even aware of time. You're actually producing your best results with a high degree of relaxation and just an ease. So really, just like sports, we want to get into that as much as we can. And in our business, we want to get that to as much as we can. And the warrior, the shadow warrior is like not even focused on that. It's just the actual execution. But the queen, just like you shared, is you can be doing that in every segment. And what ends up happening is then more gets done. You actually achieve more while doing less.
Yes. And that's one of my things. You can actually achieve this. I think it's one of my landing pages. Yeah. Do less and achieve a lot more. Exactly. Because it's true.
Exactly. So, one thing I want to draw real quick, because this is something that Nicholas shared with me, and I just remember it's really eye-opening. It's like, if we have an hour, you know, and our energy level is here.
Yeah.
And if we have an hour, if we have energy level here, it's like, if our energy level is on this one, we're actually producing twice as much in the same time.
Yeah.
So you think about it. And this was a key of me of building the system. So with my SEO business of only requiring on average 4 hours a week to maintain, is that it was like, okay, what are the precise things, and not wasting time on things I didn't need to do. Because in this scenario, if you have 8 hours, but you're managing your flow in this way, your flow state, then that becomes 4 hours. And that's just a morning. You could just do your morning, have lunch, and you're done.
Yeah.
A whole different thing.
Absolutely. But it's like, that's when you've set up certain systems to support the business. I think in the beginning, I mean, look, if people just starting out, I don't know, I don't do 40 hours, but I'd like to just do like 10, but I'm not quite there. But, you know, I do like the idea of doing much less, because you've built a system around your business so that you can actually do that, because that's the idea, right? You maintain the systems. And then you really focus on your next creation, you know, your next download. What is it you're adding to your system or your business that is going to support it further?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So, what would you like to share in terms of? Let's see if there's any questions actually now.
And I think one more thing is you share the question is just kind of to wrap this all up. An analogy I use is it's like having a tool belt.
Yeah.
So each of these archetypes is a different tool, and depending as you're going throughout your day, or even phases of life, you know, quarters of life, you may have a different focus, and that's why developing these gives you a more versatile, well-rounded ability. Another analogy that might fit people better is more like hats. You know, these are different hats that you got to put on, or even really wardrobe. You got to be in character.
Yeah.
So the more you develop them, then when you really need them most, it's most natural.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's quite interesting when you just said the hats there. I just created some copy the other day about women wearing different hats, and how the ability to actually just being able to change them and shift their energy to where they need to shift it to with ease, you know, and not being stressed or tensed and out of balance. But yeah, no, I think that's totally good. I don't think there was any questions. Was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, just going to continue on what you said, is that the Queen is really about having multi-dimensional energy in the sense of multi-dimensions of these different archetypes, whereas non-Queen energy is being one-dimensional, just having one character, so to speak, one hat. So
yeah,
Queen is balancing.
Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. Thank you for this. There wasn't any questions at the moment. That's fine. There might be some later on. You might want to just kind of see. I might tag your name if there is.
If anything comes up, just tag me.
Pardon?
You said, yeah, if anything comes up, just tag me.
Yeah. So you're in the group anyway, so people can tag your name if there is a question. And to get hold of Sebastian, you can go. I'll put his website link in this post, so you can get him, or on social media. I'm sure Messenger works. Yeah, and I'd like to say thank you for coming, sharing this.
You got it. Thank you.
Really enjoyed this, because it really gives a really full picture of the Queendom energy. So yeah, thank you very much for that.
My pleasure. It's always a blast.
That was brilliant. So I'm going to stop streaming now. So see you guys. Thank you. And let me just see if I can do that.